I'm Heather Webb. I'm a senior researcher at Ethical Consumer. At the beginning of the research, we send all the companies a questionnaire. We received only 4 responses from companies, and that was from ASOS, Newler, Inditex, which is the owner of Zara, and Primark. So one of the things that I did in this issue was I looked back at our supply chain management rating to look at how well the clothing brands had progressed under that rating. I found that 70% now score best under the supply chain management. We've looked at a bit of an analysis about why this has occurred. One of the reasons is around the consumer campaigns which have been run by organisations like Clean Clothes Campaign, and this has led to consumers becoming more aware of the issues, but it's also led to companies taking on a more proactive approach to trying to address these issues. Secondly, it's been about the multi-stakeholder initiatives that have come forth. So things like the Ethical Trading Initiative that works as a collaboration between retailers, NGOs, trade unions and governments to try and tackle the wider issues that it's acknowledged that companies on their own can't solve. And thirdly, it reflected the movement around regulation. In the UK, we've had the enactment of the Modern Slavery Act, which is forcing companies to look at their supply chain and produce statements stating how they're addressing workers' rights and slavery issues within their supply chain. Although we have seen lots of progression in terms of the policy, this kind of masks and hides a lot of the issues that I talked about previously, that actually there's still horrendous amounts of workers' rights violations and environmental issues going on within the clothing industry. And part of this relates to, I believe, especially in the high street clothing retail sector, to their business model and their business practice, selling your products fast and cheaply. So I have 2 wishes in this area. The first one, and one that concerns me greatly, is around the fast fashion model and the unsustainability of creating that much clothing, in part because of the resources involved, but also in the disposal and the waste that comes from it. I would really like the clothing sector to absolutely address this issue, which some campaigners have called the elephant in the room, their business model versus the sustainability and the viability of continuing to produce clothing at this rate. So my second wish for the clothing industry is that I would like them to be held more accountable when systematic workers' rights violations are found or environmental pollution by the clothing industry is found. And I think this would be a way of really driving change within the industry if there was a movement to hold them to be accountable. So consumers should avoid Amazon clothing. Amazon appear to have no policies addressing their clothing retailing, which is disappointing considering the huge issues that are going on in the industry. If you need to shop on the high street, then we recommend H&M's Conscious clothing line. H&M is probably one of the standout companies in terms of its commitments and its reporting around sustainability issues. For consumers who are really concerned about where their clothes are made and looking for organic or fair trade certified cotton, we would recommend that they check out our ethical clothing guide, which features some of the best examples of brands addressing some of the issues in the clothing industry and also providing alternatives to the high street.